戦争は変わった。一つの時代が終わり、俺たちの戦争は終わった。
War has changed. It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles fought by mercenaries and machines. War and its consumption of life has become a well-oiled machine. War has changed. Verified soldiers carry algorithmic arms, manipulate social influence, AI enhance and regulate their timelines. Memetic control, information control, emotion control, battlefield control. Everything is monitored and kept under control. War has changed. The age of deterrence has become the age of control, all in the name of averting catastrophe from weapons of mass destruction. And he who controls the battlefield controls history. War has changed. And when the battlefield is under total control, war becomes routine.
Think outside the cage.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Crime News Talk. Today is May 6th, 2026. We are live to tape on episode 938. And today, Great Deception Reception. Signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Basil. I'm your best buddy Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gonz, at Face Like the Sun, director of the Age of Deceit films, and the author of Prophecy Without Panic, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from the metaverse to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. It's Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dude.
Woo! And what a crazy Wednesday it is.
Unbelievable. Okay. Unbelievable. We never know what's going to happen in between episodes. Usually, unfortunately, it's kind of annoying when it's like, oh, there's Iran, Strait of Hormuz, Trump. It's just a really unfortunate day when that's what there is to talk about. But some days there are things that happen that do not simply shock us in the current events and the immediate effects of their largesse. But sometimes there are things that are so big, so cosmic, so eternal, that it makes Gonz and I question our reality and the last 15 years of our lives being dedicated sort of naively to fringe Christian topics, of course, on the internet, no less, just quietly punk rock, fringe Christians. And then suddenly the entire world explodes with things that we so confidently thought would be fringe forever. And today is one of those days, Gonz. It's a big time for any Canarian out there. Again, just another day to look around and say, well, that's interesting. I never thought millions, perhaps even billions of people would suddenly be interested in my strange fringe Christian concepts on the internet.
First off, shout out to the nurses, because it is National Nurse Day. And so, yes, we respect and we appreciate all the nurses out there. And so we're grateful for all the nurses. But also, yes, to your point.
Grateful for all the
good ones. The good ones. Yeah, you're right. The good ones. Some of them can be a little rough around the edges. But yeah, so to your point, yes, when you discover a band, like a local band
Yes.
You're like, wow, this music is compelling. It's groundbreaking. It's the greatest music you've ever heard.
I gotta
And then,
share
like,
it. I gotta
yeah,
tell
you
all
gotta
my
share
friends
it. You
about
join the
it.
street team. You got
They
the
won't
t-shirt on.
understand. They
Nobody
don't get it.
understands this genre and the, whatever they're talking about or singing about. And then, like, 3 years later, they're on MTV, and you're like, duh, they sold
Yeah.
out. They sold out.
Mhm.
So we're
Mhm.
kind of having that
And
moment with
that's right.
the fringe topic.
And
Probably
you
the
gotta
most
question. You gotta
right,
question
right.
why and how. What did they have to do? What are they giving up to be on MTV? And I think,
Mhm.
we're trying to find a clever and smooth way to transition into the news, and we're going to do that in a second. I do want to give a shout out to somebody who
Somebody.
texted the text message alert system, Gons.
Okay, great.
Because of
Yes.
course, I'm sure for those of you tuning in live or maybe hearing this on the podcast, you probably know by the title and everything about what we're going to get into. You've probably heard the story. But God bless 559. Okay. And if you're not on the text message alert system, do it now. Text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. I personally will send you a text message when we go live so you never miss a show. But the fun part is you can text us back. Okay. Text us back whatever you want. I cannot carry on a text conversation with you. It's very expensive. But if you have any questions or just have anything delightful to say, you can text it to that number. And a shout out to 559, who woke up today and came in contact with the big story of the day.
Mhm.
And did the right thing. You did the right thing, 559.
What's the right thing?
They texted in and said, "Hi, Basil. I saw this alien thing on X.
Uh-huh.
If someone hasn't been watching you for a long time and doesn't know much about this alien stuff, where do we start if we want to understand it from a biblical worldview? Thank
Mm.
you, and God bless." Is this not like the right thing to do, what this person did?
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's going to be millions. There's going to be millions of people who have these same questions, who are coming in contact with this information for the first time. And God help them. Who knows where they're going to go first? Because, of course, everybody and their mom has a podcast talking about this stuff nowadays. But 559, you did the right thing. And I will say this. For those who have heard me say before, you've been following us for quite some time, you will have heard me say this. And I'll say it again because it's true. Nothing that I can or ever will do in my career will ever hold a candle to what Gons did in 2011. Okay, there's nothing.
Let's be clear. What God did with the silly little documentary that I
What God
clunked
did
together
through
on a
Gons in
computer.
2011, I will forever be living in the shadow, and I am grateful to forever be living in the shadow in the documentary by Gons, Face Like the Sun on YouTube, Age of Deceit. Now, there's 4 Age of Deceits, but in Age of Deceit 1, 2011, that intro to everything has been life-changing for a lot of people, but contained within Age of Deceit 1 is I believe, the perfect intro into what's going on right now. In this case, we call it the Great Deception. Now, we know that the Great Deception has many tentacles, has many facets and angles, but dear 559, I would say number 1 is go to the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. Is Age of Deceit 1 up on there, Guns?
I think it's still there. Yeah, I think it's.
Look for Age of Deceit. There's 4 of them. Look for the one that's not numbered. I imagine you didn't call it Age of Deceit 1 when you made it. But
No, I did not.
Age of Deceit, what is it? New World Order and Fallen Angels?
Fallen Angels and the New World Order.
Fallen Angels and the New World Order. That is where you start, and you will be getting a historic. You'll be on the same page with millions and millions of people immediately. Then after that, I'm actually hoping to work with one of our producers to collect the best Canary Cry radio interviews to present the Great Deception in the way and the order that we as a Canary Cry community have been learning about it over the last 15 years, right? And I like this. I like having this entire history of material on this topic, because what I'm seeing today, what I am seeing making its way onto people's timelines about the Great Deception. Look, God bless them, but they are making the same mistakes that we made over 15 years, right? We've been able to mature, to press through, to find the answers, mostly because we've never had advertisers and we've never really needed to capture people's attention and spread far and wide to make a paycheck, okay? So start, Dear 559, and anybody else who feels like they have some catching up to do. Start with Age of Deceit, Fallen Angels, The New World Order. You can find it plenty of places, but go to the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. And then start, I would say, then go through some Canary Cry radio episodes. This is Canary Cry News Talk. Search Canary Cry radio. And I would say go back towards the beginning and find, L.A. Marzulli episodes.
Mike Heiser episodes. Chris Putnam did a great interview on it. The late Chris Putnam. There's a lot of them.
Tom Horn,
probably Tom Horn did a great one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm sure we discussed it with Derek Gilbert. So there's plenty. Rob Skiba. I mean, we talked to many people who are doing the research, and
we've got it from all the angles, baby. We've got it from all the angles.
But so, if I could do a quick sort of rundown, and I think this is important to state right up top here, because there's mistakes that get made that I think we've gone through them. Maybe we were allowed to go through it with some time, with
by the grace
some
of
runway,
God.
with the grace of God.
We were given 15 years to go on this process, where people today barely have 15 minutes to catch up.
Right, exactly. So one of the things people tend to do is come to quick conclusions, right? You can't jump to conclusions right away. You can't just say they're all aliens, like extraterrestrials evolved from other planets. That's one conclusion people come to. It's too hastily. But this other side of it, which is it's all demons, this kind of non-physical, wispy sort of, non-real thing. It's just demonic in the unseen realm, spirit type thing, which it's a lot more true, but you can't just say they're all demons, because there's a lot of gray area and a lot of different tentacles with the phenomena itself, whether it's the abduction phenomenon or the actual craft phenomenon. So there's different categories.
And
there's not enough data. Mm-hmm.
If I may make a comment, because this is the immediate reaction. This is the Twitter version. This is the, mega church pastor who is jumping on the train, So the words you will hear is that aliens are demons. Okay. Right. That's been pushed by, of course, lots of people, but even when it made it to the White House, J.D. Vance,
our vice president saying it. Yeah.
This phrase, aliens are demons, which is not entirely wrong, but not entirely true, because you got to go all the way back to the prehistory, the history that the Bible gives us in so many forms, but as well, ropes in a little bit of extra biblical, Book of Enoch, stuff like that.
Right, and there's some caution there too.
There is. Not for nothing, of course. You've probably heard of the Nephilim. You've probably heard of the Watchers, things like this. The Divine Council, lots of different words you've probably heard in various things. And that's important, because to say aliens are demons misses all of the nuance of purpose and incentive. Mm-hmm. When you go through the full process that, thank God, we've been able to go through, saying aliens are demons, an easy, quick way to at least
it's a nice trope.
At least express whose side they're on. But without knowing the ancient history of their incentives, none of the behavior makes sense. The
Right.
behavior of aliens, the incentives of aliens, the motives of aliens / demons, the deep history and research of this thing not only will clarify the ambiguousness of aliens or demons, but do so because you will be equipped with the knowledge of their incentives, their mindset, their motivation, these sorts of things, which will give you a much deeper understanding than just aliens or demons. So,
Right. Okay. So part of it too is that I think it's hasty also to come to the conclusion that, this topic will destroy Christianity. That was, it's a pretty common thing it's been talked about even at the Vatican 20 something years ago. They had a meeting about an astrobiology meeting. What would it mean to baptize an alien and all this kind of stuff. And also, we're talking about the Great Deception and it lays it out today. But to conclude that we're finally at the Great Deception, that also, we got to be cautious about that too. I think there's a lot of archetypes and a lot of patterns that we can identify as very similar to some scriptures that talk about this event or this time when deception is rampant. But what we can know for sure, and I think this is important for people who are like very brand new to this, like the real babies, you can be like a lifelong Christian and never touch these topics.
mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to open up your Bibles, get to the beginning, read through it, and understand that the Bible already assumes non-human intelligences exist. Okay, it's pretty apparent from the get-go that there are non-human intelligent entities that exist and interact with us. So again, you can start parsing it as physical, non-physical. You can look into all that, but it's clear that there are non-human intelligences, NHIs, as sort of the government has picked up on the acronym for. But the Bible calls them Elohim. They're spiritual beings. They're not aliens per se. Some people say they're aliens, but in the Bible, they're Elohim. There are these entities whose residence is in this unseen realm. And within that, there are loyal beings and there are rebellious beings, right? And then there are also sort of territorial powers and different things. So if you really get down to it, the biblical worldview, there's no threat to the biblical worldview when it comes to all of this stuff. And anybody suggesting that there might be, it's only there at the narrative and at the cultural level. When you really get down to the nitty-gritty of the Bible, the psyop level, we'll get into the psyop, right. And I think when you get there, once you understand that part of it, then you can start looking at the Nephilim, Genesis 6 Watchers, Sons of God, and the rebellion that took place there, and get into all the stuff there. And then, of course, if you want to really look at the Great Deception concept more specifically, there's plenty of passages. 2 Thessalonians 2 being one of the more popular ones, verse 9. And on here, the coming of the lawless one will be accompanied by the working of Satan with every kind of power, sign, and false wonder, and with every wicked deception directed against those who are perishing because they refuse to love the truth that would have saved them. For this reason, God will send them a powerful delusion or strong delusion so that they believe the lie. And of course, we've had many guests on who consider that to be this alien deception, this great deception that is sort of being discussed now, as some pastors are pointing out. And then there's Matthew 24, and it talks about false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. And if in the context of modernity, where advanced forms of technology is indistinguishable from magic, great signs and wonders seem possible. Even at we talk about Blue Beam, where they can project religious experiences to the sky and to, people's brains directly with lasers or whatever it might be. All the technology seems to exist to create a counterfeit spiritual experience for a large population. And then, of course, Revelation 13, you get there, you got the second beast performed, same thing, great signs, even causing fire from heaven to come down to earth in the presence of people. Because of these signs, it was given to perform on behalf of the first beast. It deceived those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image. And this is where, the touch point between this alien conversation with AI, where an inanimate object receives breath. And so there's a through line here with all of it. So, just briefly, because obviously there's a deeper well and a trove of research that we've done, Basil, as well as many others that we've come in contact with over the years, and many who we haven't come in contact with, that have been out there, doing the same sort of research and coming to very similar conclusions. There's a wealth of knowledge out there. So I don't think there's any excuses for people to not know what's going on when this stuff starts to roll out at this level.
Well,
and it's a little insulting, I would say, to suggest that like maybe no one's ready for this kind of attitude. But I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
Let's get into the story. Okay.
Okay. All right.
There are some people who have no idea even what we're talking about yet. And this
we needed a good primer,
the many sources that people are going to be getting information from, the mainstream sources. I never thought I'd see the day where the mainstream media is introducing people or initiating people into the theology of the Great Deception. And we'll get into it in a moment. But to lead up to it, there was Kash Patel coming out, giving us a little update. FBI Director Kash Patel confirms UFO files have been delivered for release. Dum, dum, dum. They are happening. We did have a clip. The funny part is Kash Patel sort of announced this officially on the Sean Hannity podcast. It's only a minute long. We can hear it from his own words here.
The idea that there would be life on other planets that may be visited here would not at all shock or surprise me. Have you ever looked into it?
We're looking at it. Here's the thing. Again,
okay, I want all the details.
Here's the thing. Every other president before President Trump could have said, hey, let's look at that and get the American people the information. What did he do? He stood up an interagency process with Department of War leading that effort to get out the documentation related to everything that you're talking about, not just from the FBI, from the IC and everywhere else. And so what do? We already delivered our first tranche of information to that committee, and they're going to be publicly releasing this information very soon. We are all for it. There's nothing in this subject that we're talking about that we don't want released. Our job at the FBI is to work with the White House and DOW, give them the information, and then they're going to put that out in a methodical process. And you're going to start seeing those releases literally happening in the very near future. We just met on it.
Literally happening in the very near future. Okay, getting everybody hyped. The UFOs, it's coming. Perfect timing of this announcement, because we have a headline from the Daily Mail.
Daily Mail.
And we'll bring you some wonderful clips as well. But the Daily Mail, of course, we have been exhorting, exalting, I don't know, encouraging the Daily Mail as they have taken their place, building this sort of foundation of conspiracy theory 101, releasing some classic articles on some of the most classic conspiracy theories and reporting on them as if, taking it seriously, right? Not just a way to call conspiracy theorists crazy. This has been their MO for 6 months to a year. And of course, taking very seriously their own responsibility to gain as much momentum for currently developing conspiracy theories like the missing scientists, the missing UFO scientists, which we give them credit for. And now today, it's been slowly building, and over the past couple of days, it has caught fire on social media, and we'll get into some of that. But the Daily Mail themselves, international mainstream news, have this headline: religious leaders told, quote, prepare now for UFO disclosure to unleash Bible-changing revelations.
You don't know what you're looking at.
What's driving that thing? It's not a space alien.
Aliens. It's unidentified.
Hold on. Bible-changing revelations?
Bible-changing. It's going to change your Bible.
What are you talking about, bro?
It's going to change your Bible.
What are you talking? Okay. All right.
Influential pastors are now claiming, I love that, influential pastors too, because there's influential pastors, and then there's pastors who are influential, and there's influencers who are also bad. Okay. influential pastors are claiming that they have been told to prepare their followers for shocking revelations about UFOs, which may upend belief in the Bible. Perry Stone. Yeah, love the front loading of this, right?
Wow.
The front loading.
That's some big claims.
The pastors are being warned that UFOs are going to upend belief in the Bible. Now, however, they're not entirely wrong. This is not an unbiblical statement here. Perry Stone, a well-known evangelist, author, and Bible teacher from Tennessee, warned that fellow pastors were recently invited to a secret meeting with U.S. intelligence officials to prepare for the release of secret files on extraterrestrials. According to Stone, the officials warned a small group of pastors with a large reach in Christian community that the government was about to release reports and possibly videos of aliens and spacecraft which were not from this planet. I'm warning you, pastors, we're releasing UFOs. In the April 27th video posted on his YouTube channel, the evangelist claimed that pastors were told about the existence of reptilian creatures, UFOs, and materials from non-human origin, and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie. Do we want to play his video on this?
Does it play the one at the top here? Is this
Oh, I don't know. Did we not have the here? We can grab it. I think it might be beneficial.
Just hear it straight from him.
Yeah, there's a 2-minute version, and then there's a 6-minute version. We can play the 2-minute version here just to get it straight from the horse's mouth. You want me to put it here? I'll put it in our document.
I see it. Yes. Perry. Is he a platypus? Is he a secret agent?
There you go. Pull it up there. All right.
Got it.
This was the one that really caught fire because, as we heard just now, April 27th, even for this to have taken, over a week to reach this sort of fever pitch, is very strange how it didn't really catch on for a long time. Honestly, until the DailyMail posted an article. That's neither here nor there. But here's just a little bit of Perry
Stone.
Yeah.
I had a friend that sent me a text message. I was in a meeting, a weekend meeting, preaching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And he said, Perry, can you give me a call? I have some information that has come to my attention. Of course, when a friend of yours does that you know quite well, you have no idea what information they're talking about. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but there were a large number of pastors that had been invited to go to a certain state to hear some men in the United States government and others share with them a concern that they had. And this particular man, and I'll not name him, and then we may end up doing some teachings with him or having an event at his church. He has a great church. But he said, Perry, what they're about to release, from what we're hearing, there's going to be a release concerning aliens and concerning unidentified flying object spacecraft, that some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet, and the materials they're made of are not a part of our planet. Very strange reptilian-looking creatures and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie or an Orson Welles book.
Okay. So on its face, He's talking about pastors going to a small meeting with government or intelligence officials. And it's a little unclear the way that he describes it, but the topic of, hey, watch out. They're going to be disclosing aliens, and pastors need to be ready to respond or guide the flock. Now back to the article. Last week, Trump said that the first files would be released very, very soon and would contain some very interesting things for the public. However, officials in this secret meeting allegedly said the information on its way may cause some Christians to question how the universe was created and even lose faith in religion. Now, the ambiguity of every single word being used is very important to the PSYOP. Okay. They said officials say this, and some Christians to question how the universe was created, and even lose faith in religion. Stone said, quote, "You're going to have people who are going to say if there are galaxies and there are alleged other creatures in those galaxies, then the whole creation story is a myth. And you're going to have people that's going to apostatize and turn from the Christian faith because they have no answer for what they're about to hear." Now, who is this Stone person? Oh, the Perry Stone. Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, okay, if it's the very first time you're even hearing about aliens, Mr. Perry Stone, that might cause somebody to question. But the topic of aliens in Christianity, it's a pretty popular topic here for a while. But he says here, Stone also claimed in the April 27th video, government officials warned these religious leaders that non-Christians might panic and turn to churches for answers. Quote, "They're going to freak out and they're going to come to pastors, ministers, and teachers and say, quote, 'What is this? Is this really real?'" That's a more interesting question. Non-Christians are going to come for some reason come to pastors.
What is this?
What is this?
I mean, is this really real? Is a solid question to be asking all the time when it comes to anything the government releases.
But I'll be asking that question more often. This reported meeting involved approximately 6 Christian leaders, including approximately 6 Christian leaders, including Bishop Alan Didio of the Revival Nation Church, who confirmed that he was a part of the extraordinary gathering. Didio said, quote, "It seems like a half a dozen people were gathered in an Airbnb in the mountains of Tennessee discussing an investigation that's going on in the United States government against crimes they have committed to the process of retrieving and reverse engineering technology from non-human intelligence." The meeting also went forward to discuss the propaganda plan that was in place leading up to disclosure, the pastor added in a March 7th live stream on YouTube. Again, they went forward to discuss the propaganda plan. Is that they were planning the propaganda? Were they just discussing the propaganda that they expect to come up to disclosure? Not very clear. Another reported attendee, American evangelist and podcaster Tony Merkel, added that the government officials who held the meeting expressed concerns about the impact of UFO disclosure on organized religion. Well, it sounds like we had some very concerned government officials who want to protect Christianity, I guess. Merkel said, quote, "I came in contact with these guys more than a year ago now, and I've been in touch with them, communicating with them, and their heart is to prepare the body of Christ for what's coming. These guys are part of, let's just say, they're Christians in intelligence operations, and they are specifically geared towards, initially, it was to gather evidence and data on what's actually going on behind the scenes within the disclosure community." So very interesting, talking about Christians in intelligence. Famously, there's a lot of questions about who these intelligence guys were. Are they government guys? Who exactly are there? For those who've been paying attention, one possibility is the Collins elite, what's called the Collins elite, which we don't need to get too deep into at this moment, but that's one possibility. The three pastors, okay, let's get into it. The three pastors also warned that when the US government finally releases the historic report about UFOs and extraterrestrials, it will not just be surprising news. They believe it will be part of a plot designed to pull people away from faith in Jesus. Important to note that it's the three pastors warning about this, and it wasn't the government officials warning. The men compared it to what the Bible calls the, quote, great deception in end times prophecies. Okay, now let's get into it, Daily Mail. They're bringing up the great deception. We've watched them for weeks and months now make a habit of more or less at least exceeding expectations on presenting conspiracy theories in a sort of authentic way, an honest way, without, trying to put a sort of tinfoil hat spin on them. And this is something that's been very unique to the Daily Mail recently. Very suspicious. We've talked about it. Stone explained that the men compared it to what the Bible calls the great deception in end time prophecies. Stone explained that supposed revelations about aliens could make the Bible's creation account look like a myth, causing believers to, quote, fall away from teachings of Christianity. Merkel and Didio went further, saying the disclosure had already been set up to paint Christians as the bad guys who were holding humanity back, with people being told, you were close, Christians, you were close, that's right, but no cigar, and here's what it actually is. All three men urged churches to get ready now so believers would not be shocked or deceived, but instead stay grounded in the Bible and their belief in Jesus when the great deception arrives. Now, that description of the great deception feels fairly thorough for Daily Mail. Like, that's enough. That's enough of the basics, I think, honestly presented in the Daily Mail, that there's going to be millions of people coming in. There's probably even a lot of Christians who are coming in contact with this concept of the great deception right off the bat here with the Daily Mail. And so far, they're not necessarily getting anything wrong. It's an okay sort of 101 explanation. While religious leaders have allegedly been warned about the coming UFO files, multiple government officials have also tied the alleged existence of alien life directly to events and beings written about in the Bible. They then mentioned Vice President J.D. Vance said in March, "I don't think they're aliens. I think they're demons." He previously declared himself a UFO lunatic and was committed to get to the bottom of answering whether aliens exist or not. Now, I was absolutely turned upside down to see in the Daily Mail a pretty good introduction to the Great Deception. Because, of course, the Great Deception, which, of course, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot to learn. So like we said, dig into it, and we'll make available. Man, what we should do is make a list of CCR episodes that really give the rundown. But this sort of honest accounting of the Great Deception, which is something that kind of fringy, weird Christians who've been into aliens for 15 years are very well acquainted with. And when looking forward at biblical prophecy and, say, okay, it looks like we can keep our eyes on some things happening in the world. It seems to be reflecting on various biblical prophecies about the end times, things like that. That's been going on for a long time. But the Great Deception was always this integral part of it because of some of the scriptures that you read at the top of the show, where there will be something so convincing, so deceiving, that it's sort of this last-ditch effort to pull Christians away from Christ. And as a kid who grew up in the 90s in a church tradition that was always paying attention to sort of end times prophecy, I know it's much more popular now than it has been in the past, but we have had this experience where various, like the wilder parts in the book of Revelation and other places, in the end times prophecies, lots of crazy sort of psychedelic things like dragons and beasts and this kind of imagery. It's always progressed kind of at the same rate that technology has progressed, because every step technology takes into the future, it provides a more explanation for how one of these things in biblical prophecy, could make its way into, in this case, the news of the day. And of course, we've seen technology explode recently. We've not even just AI and technology sort of presented to consumers, but like the Daily Mail has participated in, the disclosure of crazy technology they've had for a long time that they're just now letting people know about, right? You could direct energy weapons, these sorts of things. I mean, drones, obviously, a huge part of this, lots of hologram technologies, and it starts to present a pretty coherent set of circumstances that could convince the world and even Christians of a couple different things. And one of those, we'll just give some basics, right? Because of course, Christians who are paying attention to biblical prophecy, of course, we're expecting, say, Jesus to appear in the clouds, ride down on a white horse, these types of images that Christians believe are literal. Well, with hologram technology, blue beam, with directed energy weapons that can shape perception, there's a few different scenarios of either the governments or whoever of the world putting on a show. But maybe it doesn't look like Christ. Maybe it's aliens. Maybe the aliens come. Whether they do really come or not come, right? The whole thing could be faked, there's a lot of reasons to believe that is. Or if whatever aliens are really do show up, these are ways, just like presented in Daily Mail here, that could really throw not just some Christians for the loop, but non-Christians as well, having to grapple with what they're seeing. And then, of course, the deception part of the Great Deception is, as it's mentioned in the Daily Mail, the propaganda arm. What do these aliens have to say? What do they have to say about Jesus? What do they have to say about Christianity? These sorts of things. So there's just sort of some
what's kind of not mentioned in the milieu of this Great Deception topic is the conversation about the rapture. And there's an overlap of all these pastors. We'll talk about the pattern here of all these pastors and their particular dispensational views of eschatology. But there's also this overlap with the believers of the pre-trib rapture. And the narrative goes, when you bring the alien conversation into the pre-trib rapture conversation, you merge them, the take has been that, when they do the rapture and they rapture Christians, they're going to tell the world that it was an alien, like a massive alien harvesting.
Right.
They came here to take all the Christians, and they're, it was actually the rapture, but they're going to call it an alien abduction, like a mass alien abduction.
Man,
so
there's many angles to it.
Yeah, there's just so many different tentacles to it all.
It's hard,
but
to put it all into one presentation.
Right.
Just to finish out the Daily Mail here.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna of Florida has repeatedly urged the public to read the Book of Enoch an
Yes.
ancient Jewish religious text written in stages between 300 and 100 BC. Luna, who is chairwoman of the House,
First Enoch, I have to interject. First Enoch was written between 300 and 100 BC. Second Enoch was after 100 AD, and then third Enoch is even later. It's like 400 AD or something. So, just
right. Get your
keep in mind,
specific
folks, there's
right.
three different sections of Enoch. And yeah.
Luna, who is, and so what I love Daily Mail is doing here is they're actually, at least from our perspective, when you're looking at it as sort of in an analyst sort of way, they're actually working to make the case even more for the setup and the rundown of the Great Deception. Because what they are going over here is not just this weird meeting and not just a pretty good rundown of the theology of these pastors, worried about what could happen or what is happening. But then Daily Mail also lays out the buildup of the propaganda in the same way that we would probably include that in a story, because zooming out and seeing the steps of communication, steps of the psyop, these things don't happen at the click of your fingers, but they are campaigns. Luna,
Right.
who is chairwoman of the House Oversight Committee tasked with declassifying government secrets, has repeatedly claimed that alien encounters disclosed to her in classified briefings appeared to have a stunning similarity to events in biblical times. Instead of aliens, the Congresswoman has called these alleged creatures interdimensional beings, noting that the Book of Enoch tells of 200 angels known as Watchers who descended to Earth and mated with human women. Last year, Luna told podcast host Joe Rogan, of course, "Have I seen a spaceship personally? No. Have I seen evidence of this? Yes. Have I seen photo documentation of aircraft that I believe were not made by mankind? Yes. Is there historical significance to this? Yes." Quote, "Is there multiple events that go back to, I would argue, maybe even before the time of Christ that have been documented in text? Yes." She continued during the August 2025 episode. End of article. There's no
no follow-up or
no
rebuttal
follow-up,
or anything?
no
Okay, that's
response to it, right? No, isn't she crazy? No, well, the Democrats disagree. No,
This is coming from the deputy science editor from DailyMail.com too. Interesting. The deputy science editor.
Yeah, that's
Bringing
and
the-
so never ever in my whole career would I expect that a mainstream outlet like Daily Mail would even present the phrase "the Great Deception," much less present it in a way that is actually a fairly okay introduction to people who have never heard it, much less present it without finding a way to call it crazy or finding a way to call it, fringe Christian weirdness, but then also back up the presentation of the Great Deception by providing recent current events that build a timeline and a roadmap. A timeline and a roadmap, by the way, that fits perfectly into the Great Deception, not even just as a theological concept, but as a real active operation. It is
Right.
astounding that this has been being presented this way, in a way that is purposefully not trying to throw people off, perhaps trying to introduce or initiate all new groups of people to this, in our case, sort of very important foundational piece of theological exploration that prepares one. The Great Deception, you can think of all the kind of maybe not so popular theologies, right? I mean, biblical prophecy itself is sort of a subgenre that a lot of churches don't touch. But then, of course, Book of Enoch, that's even a layer deeper that a lot of churches even more churches aren't going to touch. And then end times eschatology is something obviously ignored by a whole nother group of churches. And then the Great Deception as a foundational piece of theology to prepare people. That's the whole reason that the Bible tells us about the great deception. It says, do not be deceived. You're going to see things, they're going to do things, these stories, these explanations are going to exist, and it's all a last-ditch effort to bring people away from Christ right before the end. And now there's millions and millions of people all around the world who have an introduction to the basics from DailyMail, much less the madness on social media. And honestly, I would not recommend that somebody learn about the Great Deception by what we're seeing on social media, because there are a ton of bad takes. Now, speaking of bad takes,
I was going to say, well, just before you go on, real quick, this is making the round so much so that the Christian Post published an article on it yesterday. It was a similar article as the Daily Mail. I'll just read the headline. Evangelist Perry Stone claims U.S. officials briefed pastors to prepare churches for UFO disclosure. So it's definitely becoming mainstream. But just to throw in there also the mindset of new people, or even veterans to some of this information. You know, there are real unexplained phenomena. You know, the Bible does, like I mentioned earlier, already discuss the non-human intelligence angle. But I think really keeping in mind, because we always talk about fifth generation warfare here, which is the narrative warfare, is not what they are, because we don't know for sure if anything being shown to us is even real, right? Like, we don't really know what's going on there, but what is being claimed about these entities, that's like the more important thing to pay attention to. And I think if you come at it from a grounded biblical perspective and you have that mindset of like, okay, what is everybody claiming? You won't fall for any of the different takes that people have, even ours. Like, do your own research. Don't listen to us. Like, you know, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. But we just so happen to be covering this alien UFO topic from every angle possible when nobody cared for like 15 years, interviewing all the people and, you know, pondering it when nobody was really talking about it. So we've gone through the ebbs and flows of the emotions and the moments of hype, the moments of maybe depression when you start feeling like, oh, there's no hope, no one's going to realize what's going on kind of feeling. And I just think it's from an emotional perspective, Basil, like a psychological and emotional perspective, I find it very interesting that these pastors are leaning into this urgency. You know, we need to warn the pastors now because people are going to fall away. This might be the great falling away discussed in the Bible, where, you know, the alien thing comes out and a bunch of believers abandon their faith because they don't, you know, it's this weird alarmism.
And to a degree, they're not wrong, because of course,
that's what I'm saying. They're not wrong about it, but it's the timing of it is very interesting that those emotions are being provoked at this time through these particular pastors with this viral story, which is the part that makes it
we'll
very
get into the pastors as well, because there's been some responses and there's been some very important details that have been clarified.
Pattern recognition.
So we're going to start with the mainstream, right? The mainstream Daily Mail tells this story of pastors being brought into a secret meeting with either government or intelligence officials, who, at least the impression being given by Daily Mail, there's, you know, these government people had a secret meeting to try to prepare the churches, prepare the pastors for what's going to be released. There's an implication that this is like an official meeting, right? There's an implication, you know, there's even a kind of a vibe of like, hey, wow, these pastors are very, very important, that they're being given information that maybe nobody else is being given.
Yeah, the way
the hilarious part about that is none of the information that they're releasing or discussing is anything new to us. Also, the response of like, hey, this is the great deception. This is what, you know, we're told about this. And so this is something to look out for. That's not new.
Right.
and aliens being possibly part of that great deception. That is also nothing new.
Nothing's new.
Is
Yeah.
being presented. The hype is around the fact that the meeting happened. The meeting is a vehicle with which to deliver information and theology that has been nothing's new. The Great Deception has been a topic of conversation, at least with us, for a long, long time. And the shock for me, is to see it presented in Daily Mail, but the meeting itself, the fact that the government would meet with these pastors to warn them. That's when I dig through all the detritus of this story. That's the core sort of alarming thing, because it's, the government takes this so seriously that they're warning pastors. For some reason, the government is so, cares about churches so much that they want them to be prepared. You know what I mean? I feel like those are kind of the hidden questions that when we first feel this story, right? When we first hear it and we first feel it, we're feeling a kind of a sense of urgency, a kind of a sense of amazement, a kind of sense of like, oh, it's happening. This is real. With no new information except for, I think what that feeling is really stemming from is, somebody in the government cared enough to warn Christians in America that this was coming.
Well, is there a group? Isn't there a group of some kind that supposedly had, talked about this whole issue many, many years ago with the aliens and the Christianity? And I mean, where would that even? Elite? Oh, yeah. What is it called?
The Collins Elite.
The Collins Elite. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well,
and this is
do you want to talk about them first or the Newsweek article first?
I want to talk about Newsweek for a second.
Okay.
Because the questions start arising.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who are these government people that had this meeting? Now, Newsweek tells the story it frames the story in an interesting way. The headline is Pastor Issues Apology Over Aliens Inventing Christianity Comments.
Oh, Newsweek. I love Newsweek. They love to spin the spin, it's already spun enough. But now there's a spin on the spin. This is great. Newsweek doing hard lifting.
Yeah, we go from the Daily Mail, which is religious leader. Let me grab it again here. Religious leaders told prepare now for UFO disclosure to unleash Bible-changing revelations. Newsweek comes in, pastor issues apology over aliens inventing Christianity comments. Pastor and YouTuber Larry Ragland, who suggested he was told in a secret meeting with U.S. officials. Again, the details. He was
very loose.
He was told in a secret meeting with U.S. officials, not by U.S. officials.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a meeting with U.S. officials, and he was told that aliens had invented Christianity. Has apologized after Republican Representative Eric Burlison of Missouri hit back against the comments. In a clip circulating on social media, Ragland said that a, quote, very well-known congressman from Missouri had called into the, quote, private meeting for pastors, adding, quote, on speakerphone, this sitting, powerful member of Congress said, ... they are preparing to tell us that they are from another dimension, that they are our creator, and that these beings, these aliens, whatever you want to call them, they were the ones that seeded us here. There is no such thing as God. Jesus was invented by them. The Bible was invented by them. End quote. Now, this might be the absolute gold medal winner for how to spin what happened here. Because, and we know that this is spin because we had the apology. The Great Deception.
I have the clip. We don't have to play it.
Oh,
Yeah, we got the clip of Burlison saying all this. A minute and a half. We don't know if we have to play the whole
That's
minute
fine.
and a
Yeah,
half.
play it.
but,
I mean, he's part of the story.
yeah, somebody put together with the alien sort of inscription and some music in the background.
Full of pastors and invited to come to a private meeting with a group of men who are connected with the intelligence world that are believers, but are still have very high security clearance. These are legit, true men of God that are still connected to Washington and even this current administration and all branches of military. And they literally told us, we had a sitting congressman, a very well-known congressman from Missouri. He called into that meeting as well. That was just for pastors. And this is what he said. On speakerphone, this sitting powerful member of Congress said, "Are the pastors listening to me?" I'm getting chills right now because this happened to me. He said, "Are the pastors in the room listening to me?" And I said, "Yes, sir, we are here." And he said, "Listen to me. Go and tell the church they are not ready for what is coming. The narrative that is coming, what they are going to say is going to be like nothing you can even imagine. They are preparing to tell us that they are from another dimension, that they are our creator, and that these beings, these aliens, or whatever you want to call them, they were the ones that seeded us here. There is no such thing as God. Jesus was invented by them. The Bible was invented by them." And begin to just say, listen, prepare the people for what is coming because they're not ready. But he loved us so much.
Oh, then he goes into his little about Jesus. But
yeah,
clearly, this is like the third or fourth time I'm watching this clip. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it really does appear.
It was not well done.
It's not well done. It does come off as he's suggesting that this person, this congressman from Missouri, I wonder who that is, said all these things.
Right.
So,
and here's the thing. He probably did say them, but this is how it goes, because this is the great deception, is that, yes, they will lie and tell us that the aliens invented Christ, the aliens seeded us here, the aliens created the Bible, the aliens did this, right? That is an essential part of the great deception, is that the deceivers will tell this story in order to draw people away from Christ. The way that it gets presented here is that the congressman is telling what he thinks is the truth, or what the truth is, right? He's saying, hey, they're getting ready to tell you the truth, that aliens aliens created us, aliens, whatever. Right. And so you've got these many different splintering, it's a little bit of a mess, actually, but it's called the Great Deception, right? We're watching the Great Deception sort of unfold in front of us. Of course, there's going to be a lot of deceptive aspects to it. It's going to be really deceptive to try to put it out there. So, this pastor gave the impression that Congressman Burlison is saying what he thinks is true, and that is that the aliens created everything. But what he's really saying is that, no, they're going to tell you, and it says right there, they are preparing to tell you these deceiving things. But when it comes to the Newsweek article,
Newsweek is,
they seem to miss that part of it. Right. If you're not aware,
read this headline again here. Pastor issues apology over aliens inventing Christianity comments.
Yeah, well, they did a great job of taking
the ambiguity is, and they have in the quote of Ragland, and we're not defending Ragland here because he had to issue an apology. We'll get to that in a second. They put in ellipses. This is like the great ellipses up.
The ellipses is carrying a lot of weight in this spin here.
I mean, good grief. Just omit what is uncomfortable and just, we got to carry the narrative a certain way if you're Newsweek, So
and this is the danger here, because of course, those who are aware of the Great Deception and you know what it's for, how it unfolds, what the different angles are to it. If you're aware of it, and that's sort of like part of your understanding of the world, you go, oh yeah, Burlison's telling them like what the deception will be. He is just doing that. But if you're reading it for the first time on Newsweek and you're just learning about the Great Deception and you read this, the way that Newsweek very tactfully uses ellipses and everything, you would be under the impression that this congressman knows the truth, that aliens seeded us, that this is what the government knows.
Right.
And
This is what Newsweek wants. Newsweek wants this to be true to discredit Christianity. So yeah, of course they're going to cater to that narrative a little bit more than the reality here of what the against what DailyMail did, which is pretty much report what in general the Great Deception.
Give a nice
involves.
basic, basic
primer,
rundown of what the Great Deception is, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's just a fun example of a bad take. Okay, Vigilant Fox,
We're jumping to that. Okay. All right.
I didn't have much more I wanted to
Well,
do.
let me just to clarify, okay? Because the problem was that Burlison actually came out and said, and there was a lot of pushback for this sort of claim, and I don't know where the pushback, what people saw, the important people saw to create this pushback, but Eric Burlison himself said, "I've had many people." This is on X. He said, "I have had many people ask me to respond to what the internet has said about what a person has said, what he says that I said. Really? I would remind people to listen to what I have already stated publicly, which is basically the following. I do not know what the strange objects in the skies are, and I certainly do not know their origins. I was asked to call in by phone to a conference/meeting of theologians. I could not tell you all that was said at that meeting because I was not there and did not hear much of what was said. When I had a chance to speak, I expressed my views, which is that we Christians tend to get dug into our personal worldviews, even if they have nothing to do with what has actually been written in the Bible. It would be wise for Christians to stick to what the Bible says and not what they think it is. If, and that's a big if, disclosure occurs of any type, then it will be all the more important for Christians to be educated in our own scriptures. Until that time, I will continue to seek the truth, whatever it may be." So he's kind of pushing back on this idea altogether that he even said those things, and it has come to our understanding that the pastor himself, what was his name? Sorry, I got lost here. Ragland had to issue an apology today. We don't necessarily have to play it, but he basically says in the apology that he was a little hasty, and he apologizes for making it sound like those claims were from Congressman Burlison when they're not. They're his own opinions, and he'll do better next time, kind of thing. So there's there's
a lot of this. There's a lot of this with this whole story.
Right. And we mentioned Anna Paulina Luna. We've been mentioning her a lot because she's sort of the point person for a lot of this disclosure conversation at the congressional level. And she came out and responded to the Perry Stone video saying, "Really? Have not heard of this, and we're running point on it." Basically saying this secret meeting of pastors, because again, part of the narrative also with this meeting was that the government, maybe at the congressional level, or somebody important, someone connected to intelligence, the way that, the impression was, at least to the mainstream, was that the government invited these pastors to some Airbnb, put their phone in airplane mode so they can tell them about all the secrets, and then get ready for the Great Deception, warn the churches because the Great Deception is coming. And that doesn't seem to be the case either. So at least at the congressional level, there was no organized meeting of, Christian pastors or theologians to sort of push this narrative out there. So,
and that's and that's where the questions certainly don't begin and certainly don't end. But her point is, hey, I'm the point person on this entire disclosure thing. If we had a meeting with a bunch of pastors to tell them to get the church ready, I would probably know about it.
Right.
Now, she could be lying. It's possible.
She could, of course. Yeah, she's a congresswoman.
She could be lying and she could know everything about it. But then the other side of it is, okay, so if it is true that the official spearhead for disclosure had nothing to do with this, then it would, once again, wouldn't be the first time that the intelligence agencies went ahead and did something without congressional approval.
Right.
You know, like that's
Right.
not.
I mean,
the
that's a
craziest
pretty
idea.
established pattern of behavior when it comes to the intelligence community
And it goes
at
back to
large,
the
I would say.
question. It goes back to the question: who are these intelligence people who are so concerned that they wanted to meet with these Christian pastors to try to get the word out about the Great Deception? And again, it's possible the Collins elite. I mean, that's the only touchstone
Yeah.
that the public really has for a, not that they're like being too sneaky or something, but they are a group of Bible believing, because this is how they're described, a group of Bible believing Christians in government and in the intelligence community who are all on board. I mean, they're very aware of the Great Deception, the disclosure, and they take this very seriously. A lot of the J.D. Vance aliens are demons. I mean, that's Collins elite. That's their thing. That's their. There's even been huge articles. I can't remember exactly, but it was like New York Times or The Atlantic, one of those kind of left side of the media there. They wrote a whole big write-up about who are the Collins elite. They're these crazy Christians in the government who have super high security clearance, and they're telling everybody that aliens are demons. And so this is well known. I'm not speaking necessarily out of turn, and I don't know if it was them, but if there was a group of Christian intelligence people who wanted to put I'm not even going to call it a secret meeting, because they certainly didn't do a good job of keeping it secret. They would be a candidate.
The lot of the white hat narratives for Pizzagate, for QAnon, and a lot of that stuff stems from some of what the Collins elite suggested, with sort of the satanic elite inside of government. Even like an Alex Jones, and it's not untrue. We're just saying that it's interesting that there's this group that allegedly exists within governments that are, that's fighting the good fight, so to speak, on behalf of the believers. And, which again, as an outsider, we can only say like, well, we hope so at a certain level. But there's no way for us to really know as a common person, Basil, not having any connections to the intelligence.
You go to the Collins elite wiki, and again, no idea if this was the Collins elite or not, but it's very interesting. They have their own Wikipedia page here. It says the Collins elite is a faction that some whistleblowers say exists within the U.S. government. That's what it was. Whistleblowers came out, again, to either the Atlantic or New York Times or something, and complained about the Collins elite to liberal media, saying there's all these Christians in our government who think aliens are demons. Whistleblowers say exists within the U.S. government investigations into UFOs. The Collins elite supposedly believe that NHIBs, non-human intelligence brains, I don't know what the B is there, behind the events being investigated are in fact demons in the biblical sense, and according to some accounts are obstructing the investigation for this reason. Interesting mention here. This is in the Nick Redfern section. Says British journalist Nick Redfern interviewed several alleged insiders, including Ray Bosch, for his book Final Events.
Ray Bochet. Hey, it's Ray Bochet. Come on.
And the next paragraph says the Collins elite came to believe that the activities of Aleister Crowley and his circle, for instance, the attempted magical ritual called the Babylon Working, carried out by Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard in 1946. I mean, these are like foundational pieces of understanding of like American occult history, right?
Right. Yeah. This is the Rob Skiba conversation we had in 2014 with Rob Skiba about all this stuff.
And they say they believe in that Babylon Working actually succeeded in opening a portal through which demons could enter the world, and that the 1947 flying disc craze and the increase in alien encounters and UFO activity after that point was in fact the work of the demons. They theorized that the demons, working with unscrupulous human allies, were deliberately passing themselves off as aliens to frighten humanity into accepting a world government to meet the supposed threat of the aliens, and that the demons and their human allies would run the new government with the goal of being to enslave humanity and harvest human souls, right? So you've got this, which is just kind of great deception, as a chapter in the Great Deception theology.
Right. Yeah.
Look at
it
this.
does mention. Yeah, I know. I was gonna say it does mention
our buddy,
our mentor. Yes,
Michael S. Heiser. Theologian Michael S. Heiser has remarked that if the Collins elite exist, their ideas about theology and demons are rather peculiar and seem to him to owe more to horror films than the Bible. One of the examples he singled out was the idea of demons being unable to enter the world unless a human performed a specific magic rituals for them, which he said had no biblical support and seemed to him to imply comically feeble demons. That is so Mike Heiser.
That's Mike Heiser. I know. So I kind of went on a rant last episode a little bit right after you had to go do something, I don't know, harvest emus or something, about Mike Heiser's book. If you have not read The Facade and The Portent, which are his fictional books, you got to go read it, because a lot of what's playing out right now is very peculiar, I would say, using his words from this little, or at least his summary here. Because it seems to echo a lot of what he discussed in those fictional books. And there is sort of a Collins elite group. He doesn't call him Collins elite in the storyline, but it's like kind of like the white hat people within the government.
Right.
And he paints them not really as being very heroic, though, because they might be right about sort of the general dangers or like the general concept of the Great Deception, but they're not above using manipulation or deception or, all the tactics that a government agency may use to carry out their agenda. So, it's very Mike Heiser to sort of poo-poo on both sides and, take the narrow path there. So
I love how even his mentions in Wikipedia on like fairly unrelated things are just perfectly encapsulate.
It's
like
so Mike Heiser. It's very Mike Heiser. Just
so
throw cold water on all the sensational things going on, which we missed.
Which is good, because I mean, again, the danger of having 99% of the truth or pieces of the truth, is that narrative comes in to fill the gaps. And in the narrative is where deception happens, right? Not to say, I know very little. I mean, I only know as much as the next guy about the Collins elite. But the point being, again, like we stated at the top, aliens are demons. Technically presents at least the true feelings of the matter, right? Like, it's not an untrue statement to say that aliens are demons. I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about that who have been in big conversations recently.
It's like a seeker-friendly comment, It's not really deep. It's not necessarily entirely accurate, but for the seeker, it might draw them in to. It's like a fishing net or something. I don't know. But to your point about the 95%. Truthful thing. I mean, we've always talked about the way deception works best is not 100% lie.
Right.
That's easily called out. It's the 99% truth and 1% lie. The rat poison analogy, where it's like most rat poison is just regular rat food, but it's that 1% of poison that actually takes out the rat. So, in a similar way, I would argue maybe that the certainty about some of these issues is maybe the worst enemy for believers when it comes to what exactly is going on at what level and all the hidden things. And certainly we've had, you and I have had, speaking of certainty, ironically, we've felt like we kind of figured things out in different stages. But even when it comes to the entire topic of Bible prophecy, I would argue, and this is why I'm writing the book, Prophecy Without Panic, is that there is ambiguity, and it's allowed to exist, and it does exist in the Bible, and it's part of God's design to maybe not tell us every little detail of all things that are going on, and maybe he has a purpose for that. Yeah, I think our brains would explode if we did get knowledge of all the things, but in terms of his great plan, I mean, even Christ on the cross was based on the fact that, yes, there's prophecies about that, but the people, the rabbis, the people studying the Bible every day didn't see it. So
a great example. We just had a conversation. We just recorded an interview that'll be coming out either this Friday or next Friday. Great interview.
Yeah.
And part of our conversation, and this is where, our conversations tend to go this direction recently, because I think it's very true. And I think a lot of other people are there. When it comes to biblical prophecy and what God has decided to share with us, there's a couple of ways to go about it. And one way that I believe is the incorrect way is, God described the end times. You look around, you see things that kind of match that description, and you say to yourself, or you say out loud, the end times. How can we stop it? What do we do about it? How do we stop this from happening? And I get a little bit... the Peter Thiel, right, who held lectures about the end times, Peter Thiel, the billionaire,
and the
said,
Antichrist. Yeah.
Oh, look, the Antichrist is this, the end times is this. How can we, as billionaires and tech bros, stop it?
We don't want Armageddon or the Antichrist. We're going to find the narrow path. I was like, all right, Peter Thiel.
We need to make a beast system so that the Antichrist doesn't come. We got to stop it. And another example of that could be, I would say, from maybe Mike Heiser's perspective, he would say the Collins elite, a group of Christians inside the government who see biblical prophecy unfolding in the UFO and alien topic, and the Collins elite fighting against it, like trying to stop whatever the great deception is. Maybe, I don't know if that's their whole thing. I don't want to claim to know everything about that. I'm sure they don't like their Wikipedia page or something, but it's that attitude. Biblical prophecy is coming. How do we stop it? Or, but what we're really asking is, what do we do? And what if we're really operating with the mind of Christ, which is a hard thing to do, and we try our best to align ourselves every single day with every single choice we make, to not align ourselves with our own identity, with our own desires, with our own power, anything like that, because that's where things go sideways. It's aligning ourselves with the mind of Christ. And as we approach the moment of biblical prophecy being fulfilled in the world around us, well, what did Christ do when he was looking around and saw the biblical prophecy of his own crucifixion approaching? He did not turn to Judas and say, hey, I'm supposed to be crucified here. Quick, let's leave. We got to stop me. Scripture says I'm going to get hung on a tree. We got to get out of here. No, in fact, his disciples tried to get him to leave. He says, yeah, I got to get crucified. And they say, oh my gosh, how do we stop it? I'll defend you. I won't let them take you. He says, no, this is it. This is what I'm here for. This is oh, nuts. The word just flew right out of my brain. But when we look around us and we see the same thing happening, to align ourselves with Christ is to say, this is it. This is what God wants. I'm not going to run from it. I'm not going to try to stop it. But this world and the media, online, even the political leanings and the culture, it's all about how do we stop the thing from happening. But that's just exactly opposite of what God wants from us. And so some of the bad takes, Gons.
Okay. Yep. Are we doing the Vigilant Fox here?
I'm going to do the Vigilant Fox because
Okay.
I'm going to use it as an example to go back to now what we know and what we don't know versus what's going out there. And Vigilant Fox, very popular X account. I'm sure a lot of people who came into this episode today probably heard this news from the Vigilant Fox or another post or another account like it, right? And it says, report. Claims are exploding online.
They're exploding.
Right
like
off
that.
the bat.
I like
Claims
that. I
are
love that. That's
exploding.
great. I'm going to
okay?
use that. Yeah, I'm going to start using that.
Claims are exploding online that the U.S. government has been holding secret meetings with pastors to prepare them for possible alien disclosure. Now, right off the bat, there's a few problems. First, claims exploding online. Well, I don't know if I want to base everything I know on claims.
There's a lot of claims exploding online all the time. So that's not really, it doesn't really tell us anything. Yeah.
That the U.S. government has been holding secret meetings. Now, what we know now from looking at this story across the board, hearing responses from the various people who are allegedly there, is not that it was this sort of official government meeting, that it was a meeting of pastors and podcasters and such that included some people who were in the government, at least as far as official government statements. Yes, the meeting may have happened, but this is not an official government meeting. And it also says here has been holding secret meetings with pastors, as if these secret meetings keep happening and it's some sort of campaign.
I mean, they could be. We don't know. But based on today's story or what went viral this week, it's not multiple. It's one event. But continue.
Critics are now asking a disturbing question. Why would the same government accused of hiding information for decades suddenly care about preparing Christians spiritually for what may be coming next? That is a wonderful question. I don't know about a disturbing question, but it's a wonderful question because asking that question can actually get you a little closer to the truth. It's only disturbing if you are under the impression that the U.S. government has been holding secret meetings with pastors about this and not that meetings of pastors that may include government employees happened once. It's only disturbing if you're going by the premise that they set for us, this alarmist premise. The firestorm erupted after a prominent televangelist claimed pastors were warned about UFO, reptile-like creatures and materials allegedly not from our planet, but skeptics say this sounds less like transparency and more like psychological conditioning. Now, that we can agree with. Now,
PSYOPs.
Again, I'm not even convinced that this is coming straight from the government. Plus, with all the many details continuing to be refuted by the pastors themselves coming out and say, well, it wasn't quite like that. It wasn't quite like that. Others fear this could become the perfect setup for mass deception, engineered fear, or even a staged event designed to reshape how millions understand reality itself. Yeah, the Great Deception. She didn't even use the word the Great Deception. Come on, DailyMail did better than Vigilant Fox. And she posted a 15-minute video on it, so I didn't watch the whole thing. But right there, that is talk about alarmism. Is it the government officials alarming these pastors, or is it this social media coverage getting the details wrong and telling the story in the most alarming way possible? Is that the alarmism? I mean, this could be both. But again, if we are mature, in our understanding of the Great Deception, mature in our understanding of our responsibility and our relationship, A, with biblical prophecy, and B, with what God wants from us, there should be no alarmism at all. The alarmism should be zero for a couple of reasons we've noted. A, no information has been given that any diligent Christian shouldn't already know. The Great Deception, the aliens, all of it. That should be a basic part of your understanding of where we're at. B, the government is itself, of course, could be running some sort of psyop. We keep that in mind at all times.
Oh, we'll mention a potential sort of, I don't know, harvesting and discrediting campaign going on too in a second here.
Yeah. And of course, we all know that the alien disclosure is not going to be the government telling us the truth. We know this. There should be no alarmism. Now, we can be surprised and impressed that suddenly millions of new people are encountering this information. But I remember when I started first learning about the Great Deception, we were nowhere near the Great Deception. This was all theory and theology, right? And
I forgot that we had this ISO from Alex Jones.
We were made by the aliens.
I mean, they're just saying that
that is a decades old theory that the aliens created.
Yeah, no, I know. I understand that. I just think it's interesting that they're almost part of that might be to prepare the different camps. It does feel like an early primer to be like, okay, there's the demon camp, and then there's the we're made by them camp, and then if you want to control them, you got to create the two different, pinned against each other. You can't have like 5 different views on things. You got to distill it down to 2.
Alex Jones is a good example of someone who appears and claims, and Lord, I hope it's true, to be a Christian. They just shut down InfoWars, and he gave this big speech about we're doing this for Jesus, we're not doing this for ourselves. If God is with us, who can be against us? And yet the aliens made us is like in the vernacular of Alex Jones. He's explored that quite a bit. So maybe we shouldn't be taking for granted the possibility that Christians will be falling into, say it together now, the Great Deception. Now, there's a couple other details that's kind of people are noticing, Gons. Maybe noticing.
Should we do?
Maybe noticing might not be the most appropriate word, but it's the word that we have.
Okay. Let's see. I was going to see which way to go with this because there's a couple different. I had that image. So there's that. Oh, I guess we can use the image as part of the springboard. Okay. I remember what we were going to do now. Totally forgot what we were going to do. Okay. So as part of this discussion of disclosure, there's a guy named Jon Stewart, not the Jon Stewart you all know about. This is a different Jon Stewart, investigator, journalist, former pro wrestler, author, and Illinois governor candidate, and Joan's husband. So Joan is very proud of Mr. Jon Stewart. But he published a image of I don't know, looks like a turtle or something. And it says, this photo will be part of the Trump disclosure. Thank you, at Real Donald Trump. And admittedly, Basil, the image, some people are saying this is an old image from 4chan. I mean, I don't know, but looks like a turtle.
For those who are just listening, it's allegedly a picture of an alien close up, shoulders up, and it's kind of a mix between like an alien gray, and a turtle, like an alien gray with a turtle face. Maybe this is the reptilian thing, but this allegedly has been leaked from the coming UFO files. Look, 2026. It just looks like any other old photo of anything. And that's kind of where we are with the deception. That's why the Great Deception is perfectly timed, because with AI, with everything, you could show the most legit 100% real photo of an alien and nobody's going to believe it. I mean, I don't believe this or whatever. It's not even that I believe or don't believe it. It's like, yeah, okay, sure. Why not?
Thankfully, I summarized your sentiment there. I said, I know it's obvious at this point, but it bears repeating. They're disclosing all the pictures, videos, maybe some audio of alleged entities, right as AI is good enough from some guy in a basement to publish full-length action films with a few prompts. You can have all sorts of opinions about all of this, but you can't say you weren't warned. Stay watchful. And hey, guess what? Basil broke 100K impressions on X.
Very
Woo,
impressive.
look at that.
Very
Look at
good
that.
job.
Look at that taking off. Okay,
Now,
so
in
we
this
bring it up.
thread,
Mhm.
in
Yes,
this,
we're bringing this up because if you scroll through, you're getting all kinds of different views, and people are noticing that the list of pastors who were allegedly at this meeting, which I'll just rattle off the names here real quick. This is all
should we
public.
show the meme first? Go to the meme.
Okay, fine. We'll do the meme. So
So
this is coming from a parody account called Felix Lamana, and here's the meme. Basil, you can describe the meme.
yeah. Now this is just a reflection of what kind of led us down the rabbit trail to one of the angles. And I mean, talk about
Yes.
deception, that comes
Right,
from all
yep.
angles. And this is one that is particularly, let's say, flammable these days. And it's a
Yeah.
picture of an alien, and it says, Israel is our greatest ally. And it has the Star of David down on the alien there. So the implication being, okay, if this is some sort of psyop here, this person thinks they know where the psyop is coming from.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's a little unusual because Jon Stewart, he's a good reply guy. He's replying to people in his on his thread there, but he took a particularly strong interest in this meme that should just kind of, I mean, it's just trash. Like, it's just detritus, right? Internet detritus is what this thing is. But it doesn't seem like he took it that way.
No, he responded with a very long take here. Let me read for you what he said. This sounds like it was written by AI, but we'll do it here. So again, this is Jon Stewart replying to this meme here of the alien with the Star of David there. For the sake of clarity, consistency, and intellectual neutrality, I maintain a strict and deliberate policy of non-engagement with any questions, commentary, speculation, or discourse relating to Israel, whether directly or indirectly. Excuse me, Jon Stewart, you just engaged a post about Israel.
Currently doing this,
with
right?
a post that says you're not going to engage. Okay, anyway, sorry.
Which is bringing attention to the post. We may not
yes. Why? Nobody would have said anything. Okay, this position is not rooted in hostility, bias, or any form of ideological opposition. Rather, it is a conscious choice grounded in my commitment to remain a neutral observer within the broader landscape of global geopolitics. In an era where discussions surrounding certain regions and topics are often highly charged, deeply polarized, and subject to rapid misinterpretation, I have determined that the most responsible course of action is to abstain entirely from engaging in that specific domain. My work, research, and public commentary are intended to focus on areas where objective analysis, open inquiry, and constructive dialogue can occur without the gravitational pull of entrenched narratives, or external assumptions. This boundary, he just goes on and on, a couple more paragraphs here. This boundary ensures that my perspectives are not misconstrued, co-opted, or framed within contexts that fall outside the scope of my expertise or intent. It allows me to preserve the integrity of my broader work by avoiding subjects that, by their nature, tend to eclipse nuance with pre-existing positions and expectations. Accordingly, I will not respond to elaborate on, or participate in any discussion pertaining to Israel. I ask that this... I ask that this boundary be respected, not as a statement of position, but as a reflection of a disciplined commitment to neutrality and focus.
Honestly,
what in the world, man?
I think he's being very wise here. I think I'm actually going to copy.
You think this is a legal protection for
I don't
any
know.
kind of?
I wouldn't even begin to guess why so much energy went into this.
Why?
But it's very clear. I think both by the sort of flippant satirical meme and his exhaustive response about how he's not going to respond to it, I think reflects something that we began to see more of. Now, I'm not very much aware of each and every one of these pastors who were at this meeting. I kind of just learned about them as this story unfolded. But after seeing this and the response, it kind of asked the question, okay, is this is this relevant at all? Is this just a trash anti-Israel meme somebody threw it? Why would they? Is there a reason? And just with a few searches and a few questions to be answered online, there does, people are identifying what they think is a pattern with the pastors involved. And they are, can take that down the rabbit hole as much as they want. And of course, it's the internet. And so they have. I think that this opens up an interesting, not question to be answered, but angle to be aware of, again, in the context of not being deceived. Now, this is obviously all about Christianity and Christianity's response to aliens, right? Using some pretty deep cut theology. The Great Deception is a pretty deep cut when it comes to Christianity. It appears that at least the pastors that are known to be there are pretty pro-Israel in general in their stance and in their post.
pretty pro-Israel, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They have that in common. Which look, there's a lot of pastors who are pro-Israel.
Let's be clear. It's pro-contemporary modern nation state Israel.
Right.
Just be very clear about it. Very specific in what they are.
Pro-Israel in the hot button ways that it's such a hot button today.
Right.
They are pro-Israel. Right. So now you have people going, oh, well, it's just a bunch of pro-Israel guys. That's how you know it's a psyop. You know, they got the call to put out this blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Right. Now, whether or not that's true, who knows? And of course, we know in intelligence and things like this, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on that we'll never actually know. But in the narrative analysis, you've got another angle by which to discredit the Great Deception. Because, again, DailyMail giving a straightforward description of Great Deception theology, which Christians will either agree on or not agree on. Christians will agree that aliens are demons, or they will not agree that aliens are demons. They might think that God made aliens, and that's great. You know, there are brothers in creation or something. So every step along the way is a division ready to be divided, right? And this is another one of those, because there are Christians out there who will say, oh, this whole story comes from a bunch of pro-Israel pastors, therefore discrediting the Great Deception theology. So it's if somebody is very vehemently anti-pro-Israel, which is a very, I think, genius and gentle way to describe it. I'm very proud of myself. Now, if somebody is very anti-pro-Israel, and they come to this conclusion and they do their noticing or whatever, then the Great Deception theology might get thrown out the window. They might become more assailable to the aliens are aliens, or the government's not lying to us about aliens.
Yeah, it's
a certain group of people that if Israel is anywhere involved, they are running the opposite direction.
Right. Especially right now,
could put them at risk. It could put them at risk.
Yeah. No, it's you're describing sort of a poison pill approach to the Great Deception. To discredit the Great Deception, let the people that are most criticized right now carry that message, or be the ones that are trying to capture the narrative. Now, in the bubble, you can maybe argue that it is the pro-Israel crowd who, again, they seem to have a dispensationalist view on eschatology. And a lot of that eschatology is what informs their current contemporary geopolitical positions. It could be that at a certain level, it's those folks who are trying to capture the narrative in order to allow the Christians to interpret the whole phenomenon through the concept of watchers and, you know, demons and the Book of Enoch but their sort of version of eschatology that includes all this other stuff, which, again, there's overlap here in many different respects. But then on the other side of it, sure, this is going to really turn off the people who don't like this group. The group
And
that would be susceptible to this, to the poison pill, are what's being called right
Yeah.
now the what is it? The woke Reich, right? It's like the new right wing or something like that. They're the Nick Fuentes and the Tucker Carlson and the Candace. That crew is being sort of portrayed as anti-America right now, but really they're kind of anti
Well,
Israel.
yeah, and it's interesting because eschatology, end times prophecy, is already a central chapter in the Israel conversation.
That's what I'm saying. It's the main
The end
driving
time,
force
the
of the contemporary
conversation,
thing.
right,
Yeah.
about biblical prophecy and the end of days is a central topic when it comes to the pro or anti-pro Israel conversation. And so, it's not even introducing a new poison pill. I think that's a great name for what it might be.
Right.
It might be a poison pill to discredit yet another, just another, not even the first, not even the most interesting, but discredit just another aspect of end times prophecy that again, creates this barrier. And whether you are pro or whether you are anti, it doesn't matter where you sit on that topic. It draws some very spiky boundaries.
Well, that's the thing. If go ahead, sorry, finish your thought.
Well, it's just that could exclude you from some legit eschatology, some legit warnings, some legit
because
protective measures that you lose access to because you may sit on one side or the other, and that just sabotages your ability to see the whole picture.
If you're the enemy and you really want to divide Christians, this is perhaps the greatest play because, just to be transparent, I did text L.A. Marzulli, our good friend L.A. Marzulli, who I've interviewed multiple times, who have been talking about the Nephilim and aliens and UFOs in the context of biblical prophecy and the Bible for many, many years. My question to him was basically, hey, were you invited to this meeting, this secret meeting? Because he's very pro-Israel geopolitically. And so he would kind of fit the archetype of the kind of person that would be invited to this meeting. And in fact, we were joking beforehand, maybe he's the one that kind of laid out the great deception concept because he's been saying that for years, but he's not getting any of the credit right now. he's being completely ignored in the mainstream. But I bring it up because, LA is somebody that we love. I love LA. He's a big part of my sort of coming to understand all this stuff, but I disagree with him on the geopolitical stuff. Right. But that stuff doesn't matter as much. He's still a brother in Christ. But if you want to divide camps, like you really want to divide Christians, this is a great way to do it because, you're going to splinter off into aliens are demons camp. The aliens are watchers camp. The aliens are ETs camp. The pro-Israel, anti-Israel camps can each have their own version of things. So it really just fractionalizes the entire, what should be a unified view that's grounded in scripture, but instead we have all these different commentaries and all these different opinions about what's going on. And what a great op in that regard to divide Christians altogether and do so in a way where you're politicizing the watchers, the Book of Enoch, the whole non-human intelligence conversation with angels and all this stuff that's in the Bible, politicizing it to divide and conquer. In that regard, I mean, this is like a great op for the enemy.
It's so interesting too, because that was the original problem when Jesus came to the Hebrew people as well, because they were expecting a political Messiah, a warrior Messiah, a Messiah that would come with a sword and destroy their political enemies, the Romans, and deliver them into their next phase of the promised land, right? The primary reason that those Hebrews who did not accept Jesus rejected him was because they were focused and expecting a political answer. And it's, I find it just a frustrating, but a beautiful consistency in God's creation here, that the politics are still what creates so much division, even amongst those who, who have Jesus as their Lord and Savior, that sort of political focus is just such a sharp blade that the enemy can wield. And look, it's just like everything else. Doesn't matter what side you're on. If you feel very strongly on one side or the other, you're gonna hate this whole part of the conversation. And I'm sorry.
I know this is where we lose a lot of people because we're not sensational enough, or we're not hating people enough, or whatever it is. So it's the narrow path is not fun. I will say that.
There's a reason. Yes, there's a reason why it's a narrow path. So. Yeah, very interesting. Overall, man, I think this is a great invitation for people to dive deep, and I hope not just deep but wide when it comes to the Great Deception. The Great Deception theology is essential for keeping an eye out for where we are. Similar to sometimes in COVID, right? If you didn't spend 10 years before COVID coming to grips with, certain things, and you just learned about them during COVID, it was very difficult to know what to do, to accept or to not accept, or to believe or to not believe, to see the bigger picture. Thankfully, that event brought a lot of people into the fold, woke a lot of people up. But those who had been, in research mode for the 10 years beforehand could immediately spot it. It was a much more gentle process. There was a lot less mystery into what was going on or what to do about it. And I think it's very similar for this. I mean, disclosure is going to be the next, bomb dropped on civilization. After COVID, right? You're gonna have alien lockdowns, right? Stay inside.
Alien lockdowns. They'll have mandatory vaccines, to ensure that you won't get infected by the aliens.
The aliens can definitely bring. I mean, listen to that. There you go. There's one for the Red Book. After disclosure, hey, we admit it. There's aliens. They're around here. Here's one. Look, they're actually around you, and we have to say, World Health Organization says that the aliens actually brought a virus. And so we need to vaccinate you against the alien virus, and they're around us. So, and just run the whole thing over again. Would not be surprised. Something like that.
There's more claims coming. There's this image will be shown on July 8th, 2026. And it's of kind of an ethereal humanoid figure, light, bright feet, glowing head, face type thing. You can't really tell what the face looks like, but it's almost like I don't know, like a transparent, semi-transparent.
Well, here's what's going to happen.
Humanoid, yeah.
Whatever disclosure, if disclosure is as exciting as people are wanting to be, it's going to be completely unbelievable, right?
Right.
And those of us paying attention and in the zone, we know there's a deception involved. It's going to be completely unbelievable, but it doesn't matter, because once it's disclosed and it's officially, legally the truth, then the power structures of the world will have every justification to enact any policy they want under the assumption that it's true. And just like COVID, where it doesn't matter if you thought whether COVID was real or not, the fact that they say it's real justifies every action they want to take. I could see disclosure happening very similarly.
Yep.
All right, Guns. There's obviously an endless amount that we could talk about here. Highly recommend, of course, if you want to start getting your deep education on just from a wealth of researchers and theologians and at least well-respected people around here. Go start by watching Age of Deceit 1. It's just called The Age of Deceit, Fallen Angels and New World Order over on the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel. And then go find Canary Cry Radio on your podcast feed or something. And go back to some of the early episodes. Mike Heiser, Rob Skiba, L.A. Marzulli, Derek Gilbert. The funny thing is that the Great Deception is sort of this thing that underlies almost everything we explore in this genre. So go check it out. We'll see, maybe we might be able to put together a little something for everybody to help guide them through that. But we couldn't do this, Gons. We couldn't do it if it weren't for our producers. We're on the value for value model, of course, from top to bottom, from the analysis to the takes to the skepticism to the certainty that we have in this show. It is unmonetizable from top to bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
We don't accept any advertiser money, no sponsorships, no platform partnerships, none of that. We're entirely sustained by our producers, and the producers are you. Value for value model is very simple. If you get any value from any of this, just know that it can't happen. It won't happen ever again if people who get value don't put value back in. And look, this some people think that's a lot of pressure. Don't worry. You can become a producer of the show with your time, your talent, your treasure. Okay. It's not all about money. If you're an artist, if you're a musician, we had somebody send in a great report on something we didn't have time for today, but I'm going to bring it on Monday. There's all sorts of ways to bring value back to the community, right? But you can go to canarycry.support to learn all about it and produce the show there. Let's see here. You know what? I would like, before we thank the executive producers, I would like to play the speak pipes. Okay. We got some voice messages, some announcements here. If you want, you can leave us a voice message over at canarycrynewstalk.com. You'll see a green tab on the right hand or the bottom side of the page. You can use any device. Click on that and you can leave us a message and assume that we are going to play that message on the air. We reserve the right to not play it on the air. If you don't want us to play it on the air, tell us at the beginning of your message. Say this is not for on the air. Well, we got a couple of voicemails that are important to the community here. Which one you got pulled up first?
Let's do Sir Ike here talking about something. Here we go.
Hey, Canary family. This is Sir Ike here. I want to give an announcement out there. I am getting ready to convene our annual calendar conclave. If you want to belong to the calendar project for this upcoming year, we're needing some artists to sign up. So if you want to join, just send me an email to canarycrysupplydrop@gmail.com and I'll get back with you. Thanks.
Boom, boom. There you go.
That's right. They're starting the project for the 2027 Canary Cry calendar.
Oh,
If you're an artist or anything like that, go ahead and email Sir Ike at canarycrysupplydrop@gmail.com. We are in dire need of artists right now. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I'm assuming, though. We're always in dire need of artists. So
yeah,
go get involved. The Canary Cry calendar is the most treasured thing that any Canarian can be a part of. And we just love seeing what the Canary Cry calendar conclave comes up with every year. All right. We have one from Liquid Bacons.
Hey, Canarian, this is Liquid Bacons. It is Wednesday, my dudes. I just wanted to spread the word, let people know that there's a gate thread that's opened up on Canary Cry community, and I hear the site's been popping off like I'm new to it and all that, but I've been hearing that there's like a huge resurgence and stuff of activity, and same thing with Discord. So whichever one you like, there's a lot of new threads opened up. There's one of like supernatural and spiritual abuse kind of survivor group threads, and that's pretty good. But anyways, I just wanted to spread the awareness and all that, and for everybody who's been interacting with me and helping me out over there, I super duper appreciate it, and the prayers and everything. And so yeah, just wanted to let you guys know and say I love you all. Super appreciate you guys. All right, bye.
Thank you very much, Liquid Bacons. Yes, there's a lot going on the communities. Okay, maybe you're new, maybe you've never connected, maybe you got a lot of questions about the Great Deception, maybe you want to learn more about the GATE program, the Gifted and Talented program of for government psychic children project.
CIA recruit.
Yeah, there's lots of great it's not, not just conversations. These are some serious threads, serious support groups gathering on our various community pages. Of course, we have the Discord channel. If you go to canarycry.party, you'll see the link to join the Discord channel. I know they got a lot going on there. And yes, canarycry.community, another one of our communities that is off sort of big tech social media. canarycry.community. You can become a member there as well. All right, Guns. Just going to thank a couple people, not a whole ton of people today, but executive producers are people who come in, they support the show for $100 or more. That's why we give them the credit here at the top, which is now the bottom of the show. I want to give a big old thank you to executive producer Joseph G.
Joseph G, thank you.
Thank you, executive producer Joseph G, coming in for a nice round number, so we won't disclose it on the show. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, dear current and future producers, put some funky numbers on there. 33 cents, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you come in with a nice round number on the 10 or the 5, that's you telling us you'd prefer we don't disclose it. But you could be like executive producer Sir LX Protocol, V2, Baron of the Brian Protocol.
Baron.
Comes in for $100 and 33 cents. He's on a 485 episode streak and a 139 executive producer streak. And one last producer came in under the executive producer amount, but want to thank her. That's producer Rebecca T.
Rebecca T, thank you.
She comes in for 3456, 3456. Thank you very much. And this is Rebecca T's 21 episode streak.
Oh, there we go.
Got me, partner.
Yeah, she's on a street.
If again, join the Canary Cry text message alert system. Text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. We got a message from Monica. It says, maybe creating a Great Deception playlist on Spotify would be helpful. You guys have been preparing the body for a long time. I wonder what the church folks from your beginnings think when they see news like this. God bless, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Yeah, if there's a producer out there or a couple producers want to get together and go through and make a Spotify Great Deception playlist, that would be wonderful. We would give you big props for that. These are the types of things, folks, that you can do to bring value back to the show. All right, Guns, you got to get Skadootin here.
Skadootin, yeah.
Okay. Big ol' shout out to Jade Bouncerson. Thank you for doing the timestamps.
Thank you.
Jam for heading up the Telegram channel. Adam42 for doing the Discord channel. Thank you to Joe for the feedback. Thank you to Clank for everything you do. And of course, Sir Ike for keeping us alive, baby.
Buy coffee.
Oh, yeah. Go to cagerattlercoffee.com. Get the coffee. It's great. And share the show. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. We call it Rattling Cages. And all you got to do is walk right up to him, grab him by the cage, and then you shake the cage.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
Every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Guns, any last words?
Oh, man. Do I have any last words? In him, we have redemption.
There you go. Amen.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time and do not be deceived. But until then, think outside the cage.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
We're all gonna die.
This is the way. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
He's a Satanist from one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies.
I love the Great Reset. Give me a break. Armageddon's on the way. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world.
Let's invite some dudes over in fellowship tonight.
Bye. I'm out of here. Bye.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry.